If you have any questions at any point, feel free to throw them into the chat so you don't forget. But I will likely not be able to get to them till the end of the presentation, just so I can get through everything in a timely manner. But yeah, thank you all for coming tonight. We're going to start off with a quick agenda for what to kind of expect today. So we'll talk about what a personal statement is, some personal statement do's and don'ts, what goes into a personal statement, and then also resume do's and don'ts, because the resume, like I mentioned in the first session, is a big part of the application process as well. How to write about your accomplishments for your law school application materials, and resume action statements and how to maximize your skills and experiences. And then lastly, I'll touch on LSAC and CAS as platforms for your application process as well. So another recap, kind of what we mentioned at the beginning of the session, applications are open now on LSAC. The applications are accepted on a rolling basis typically, and priority deadlines for most law schools will be around mid-April, with a few exceptions like early decision programs. That deadline is more so mid-November or December, and we talked a lot about that last week. So if you're looking to apply for any kind of early decision or accelerated JD program, this deadline is a little bit earlier for accelerated January or February. Preparing this fall is the big question I get. What should I be doing right now? I think it's good to apply at the earliest point that you have the strongest application. Applying anytime throughout the fall, preferably by December, will put you in a good spot on the earlier side of the application cycle. Okay, so kind of diving right into today's topics. What is a personal statement? So if many of you are in the process of applying right now, it's likely that you've already kind of given this some thought. But if not, a personal statement is required by most law schools or requested by all law schools. And this provides you with the opportunity to go a little bit beyond the aspects of the application and tell the law school admissions who you are, what's important to you, why you want to go to law school, essentially. So you want to showcase information about your background, personal qualities, leadership skills, again, motivation, and what is unique about you, what distinguishes you from other candidates who might have the same caliber as you. So your goal is to be concise and detailed by establishing yourself as an individual, an interesting and personal discussion about yourself that reveals personality and character will come to live to the admissions committee. I always tell students this is kind of your opportunity in lieu of an interview where you can charm the admissions officers. This is kind of your opportunity to show a little bit of personality and really set you apart. So they're very important. Some practical do's and don'ts for personal statements. You want to stick to about 2 double-spaced pages, although sometimes schools will give a word count or they will be a little bit more lax with these requirements. So definitely read directions very carefully. If they don't provide guidelines on length, typically 2 pages is standard, so I would always stick with that. Schools will sometimes limit the number of words permitted as well. So just make sure you're reading. Proofreading is extremely important. Any grammatical errors, typos, spelling errors are an immediate red flag. And like it says there, will detract from favorable impressions. This statement might make otherwise, even if it's a glowing statement. If you have any of those errors, it's not going to be a good look. Do not use large words in an attempt to impress the readers. Instead, simple language, and rely on just, having an organized, structured, with interesting content to make a good impression. So your statement should be serious, honest, and sincere. Your tone should be confident and positive. You're writing about yourself, which can be hard and can be, we want to feel humble. We don't want to show off, but you should read off as confident as well as sincere and being honest. But this is also, again, your opportunity to kind of shine. Negative information like disciplinary or academic probation addendums, you'll have an opportunity to write those kind of or to address those in other ways of the application. So be sure, again, to keep this very positive in your personal statement. So what goes into a personal statement exactly? So you want to think expansively. So don't, limit yourself to one particular experience. Plan deliberately, essentially kind of wanting to have, again, that clear structure and organization. So thinking about what kind of message do you want to convey? What kind of style do you want to write in? What kind of narrative do you want to explore and write in your personal statement? The main thing is definitely keep the focus on you. If a person in your life maybe had a very particular impact and you want to write about them in your personal statement, just make sure that, maybe your focus is not just on the person, but their impact on you and how your perspective of this experience with the person had on you. Again, being clear and concise with your language. I think sometimes your flow can get a little bit messy when you have all these great ideas about what you want to write about. So just make sure your message is clear. Telling your story in your own voice is very important as well. This is your opportunity again to tell your story, show the law admissions officers who you are. So again, make sure things are in first person. You're using I statements, writing about the law. So again, you're expressing your interest in the law. You don't need to cite case law by any means or even have a clear idea of what kind of lawyer you want to be one day. I think it's just really important to mention what has brought you to this point. So thinking about what experiences or lessons you have learned or whatever it might be has brought you to this point, to make this decision to apply to law school, and what you hope to accomplish in your time there, and hopefully like what you want to get out of it, being a lawyer and going to law school. So definitely take plenty of time with your personal statements. Obviously, you're here today, so you're here to seek advice, get some review, hopefully, and just taking ownership over your statement. So it's good to get, advice from others, but ultimately it's your statement and it should be from you and your words and your voice. So shifting gears into resume, you will often include some form of a resume where you're writing about your experiences. A standard law school application resume can go beyond one page, which is not the typical format for, say, a job application. So just keep that in mind. You can go a little bit above and beyond here. So your resume should be clear and easy to navigate. So you want to have those clear category headers like education, experience, activities, etc. Not too crowded. You want consistent formatting throughout. So the use of bold and italics, graphically appealing. Typically, you want to refrain from using colors and shapes, photos. This is not the time to be creative. Being descriptive with your skills. You want to really market the skills that you've built in your time at Boston College or through internships, through volunteer experience, and how your skills will make you a great law student. So highlighting your accomplishments is also a great way to appeal as a candidate. So awards that you've received, projects that you took lead on for an organization, and also what your individual impact or contribution was. How did you add to some kind of result? And I'll get into a little bit of what that looks like in an example. You want to be selective with your resume as well. No need to really include high school experience. This should be very relevant to Boston College and things from your college experiences. Like I mentioned, you want to definitely go beyond more than paid work. As a law school candidate, application candidate, the law admissions will be looking at you as holistically as a candidate. So they'll be looking forward to seeing your campus leadership roles, volunteer experiences, anything that you can really think of. I think a broad spectrum of interests is really great. Again, you'll want to target and tailor your experiences and skills to align with a strong law school student or candidate. So thinking about what they would be looking for. So you can use this by looking up typical skills in a lawyer or typical skills in a law student. or for any kind of job or internship as well, you would use keywords from descriptions. So that's kind of that do there. Writing about accomplishments, again, like I mentioned, it can be hard to think about things that you've done really well. So this takes some time, but it's important that you do this. Accomplishments show the positive impact of your efforts. So you want to think about how you benefited your employer. That doesn't necessarily mean your boss, but the entire organization, for example, or the population that you serve, clients, coworkers, fellow students in a class setting. You want to think about something that you've created, hopefully with some kind of impact, and how you maybe fashioned a creative solution to a problem. So these are all kind of ways to think about your accomplishments. And then when you're writing them in a bullet point fashion for your resume, you want to focus on the results you achieved based on some kind of action that you took in response to these projects or problems that you faced. So we at the Career Center call this the PAR method. So kind of adding those three elements into a bullet point statement will ultimately show your skills the best. Here's an example of really maximizing your skills and experiences in a resume. So you can see a before and after. I think that there are some really significant differences here, just in the bullet point, not looking so much at formatting, but the difference in the broad kind of responsibility of supporting the front desk into a much more detailed, focused on results, focused on impact and individual contribution here in the second one, and the focus on the development and implementation skills that the student has here. The use of numerical values also is strong as well, where you can demonstrate a little bit more context into the accomplishment that you've had. So lastly, getting into LSAC and CAS. These are products that most of you should be familiar with, if not already kind of registered and signed up. Maybe you used LSAC to register for an LSAT. It provides products and services that support candidates and schools throughout the law admissions process, offers innovative solutions and also resources to expand and diversify the range of pre-law students. And it also enhances student outcomes in law schools and supports legal professionals throughout their career. So definitely get familiar if you aren't already with the LSAC website, get signed up. There are great resources on LSAC for law schools researching, figuring out what programs align with your criteria and what their criteria and how that matches with you. CAS centralizes and standardizes objective application information. So very similar to the Common App when you applied for colleges, it centralizes the GPAs, LSAT scores. ABA-approved law schools require these applicants to subscribe to the CAS service anyway, so definitely already have that in mind. This service organizes, analyzes applicant information in a way that allows law schools to compare academic records from undergraduate schools that use different grading systems as well. With CAS, your LSAT scores and transcripts and letters of recommendation and other documents will only be needed to sent one time through LSAC, so it's very centralized. Again, not unlike from the college admissions process as well. So making the most of your fall semester, especially if you're in the midst of applications right now, this is the time to be revising, refining, and strengthening your personal statements and other supplemental statements. You should be connecting with law schools at info sessions that you have interests in, law forums, law fairs, which are all typically will highlight either in some kind of newsletter to you or on the Career Center events page. Like I mentioned at the beginning, applying at the earliest point that you have the strongest application, not so much as early as possible, will put you in the best spot. So that November or December, if possible, timeline. The deeper into the cycle you get, fewer spots remain for fewer scholarship opportunities. And with refining and revising your personal statements, I just want to quickly plug next week, the final installment of this prep series will be an in-person workshop from 4 to 5 p.m., where you will have the opportunity to come in person with an updated copy of your personal statement, where you will be peer reviewing with fellow attendees, with as many people that are there, so you can hopefully get multiple eyes on your documents. And I will be there as well to help with this, and offer more support too, and ultimately just gain hopefully more of a community and connection with fellow pre-law students. I encourage anyone to come, even if you're not quite at this stage yet as well, if you have further questions. But ultimately, this is a really good opportunity to get some advice and peer review for your personal statement. Okay, and I think I saw Kimberly Gardner, Director of Admissions, join earlier on the call. Okay, see you, Kimberly. Hi, how are you?
I'm well, and let's see. Okay. Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And Deborah, nice to see you and everyone here. My name is Kim Gardner, and as Jessica said, Director of Admissions over at BC Law. So I'm happy to take any questions that you have, and but I'd also like to recommend that you come and visit us. We have started our tours for the fall, and so they are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they are in person, and you can also visit a class. In order to do that, and let me pop this in the chat, the way to register is right there on that link. In addition, and I think it's a great way to kind of connect with our current law students, we do coffee chats on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. So that's also a great way to just really talk with our students. We have volunteers, close to 40 student ambassadors, law ambassadors, that really like to talk with the students, to really educate them, encourage them, and tell them about their experiences. And so it's far more reaching than I could do, but it is a terrific way. So if it doesn't fall into your schedule right now and you're not really ready this year to be applying, definitely think about it and connect with them anytime fall, spring, or even next year. And the slideshow, Jessica, what a great job, because you really did nail on quite a few points that I felt like some of the words were taken out of my mouth. It was so spot on. So it really was great, and excellent advice. You are in good hands over at the Career Center. And but fire away if you have any types of questions that you want to direct towards me or Jessica or Deborah.
And feel free to utilize the chat if you're on here, or we encourage also if you want to turn your camera on and unmute as well to engage. I'll stop the recording now for the Q&A portion just to protect privacy. But thank you for watching. If you're watching this recording, if you have more questions, let me know.